Hello everyone, and thank you for coming back to the channel. I'm so happy to be with you on this journey of learning about relationships and how to grow yourself after emotional challenges. Today, we will explore a very important topic together: how to understand and overcome the pain of a breakup, and how to maintain your self-worth in every relationship in Tisbita. I will share with you 5 important parts. Each part will help you identify common problems in love, from lack of self-respect to identifying early warning signs in a relationship. Together, we will learn how to love yourself, understand your self-worth, and learn how to build a healthy, happy, and sustainable relationship. Surely after this video, you will have more tools to face the difficulties in love and move forward stronger. So, what are you waiting for? Let's get started. 1. Understanding the pain after a breakup when a relationship ends. The feeling of pain and confusion often makes men fall into a state of confusion. They feel like everything is broken, not understanding why someone they loved, who they devoted all their heart to, could leave without a satisfactory explanation, especially when they feel like they have done everything they can to keep this relationship. That feeling is like a mental shock, when all their efforts and sacrifices are not enough to keep the other person. Many people, especially men, in such situations, often just wonder. Asterisk. Why did she leave me? They will go into a vicious cycle, asking themselves questions. Is it because I am not good enough? Or did I do something wrong? These questions make it impossible for them to escape the feeling of abandonment and lack. But the more important question they should ask themselves is, asterisk. Why did I ignore the signs that something was wrong in the relationship? This is the first step to realizing that sometimes it's not one person's fault, but both of them just didn't see the underlying problems all along. In fact, after every breakup, we often look back and see that there were many signs that, if we had paid attention to them in the first place, we could have avoided this pain. It could have been a gradual lack of attention from the other person, or unresolved arguments, or a feeling of abandonment, even though the two of us were still together. But instead of facing those problems as they arise, many of us choose to ignore them, hoping that things will work out over time. It's important that men, after experiencing the feeling of abandonment and failure in a relationship, change their perspective. Don't let pain and disappointment cloud your ability to self. Instead of blaming your partner, ask yourself, why didn't I see those signs? Being aware of your mistakes and shortcomings in the way you approach relationships will help men grow, become stronger, and most importantly, understand themselves better. Once they can self-reflect and learn from past mistakes, they will develop a new perspective on love. They will no longer depend on feeling loved and needed to feel valuable. Instead, they will realize that their self-worth is not dependent on the relationship or the acceptance of others, but on each of them. Learning to love yourself will be the first step in the journey to recovery and finding healthier and more mature relationships in the future. In short, after each breakup, instead of tormenting yourself with unanswered questions, look back and ask yourself more constructive questions. What has happened cannot be changed, but it is what we learn from it that helps us grow and avoid similar mistakes in the future. 2. Recognize the red flags. One of the most important factors in maintaining a relationship is the ability to recognize the warning signs early on. Every relationship has signs of change, and when we ignore those signs, we inadvertently let things slip away without even realizing it. When the feelings between two people start to fade, when the conversations are no longer connected, when the caring gestures are no longer the same, that is when you need to stop and reevaluate the relationship. Men, especially in long-term relationships, tend to ignore small but important signals. Sometimes, they think everything will be fine if they just try harder, or if they give in and please their partner. But when signs of disrespect start to appear, it can lead to serious consequences if not addressed promptly. One of the first signs is a change in communication. If your partner starts to stop sharing their feelings, stops caring about what you're going through, or simply stops wanting to spend time with you, it's a worrying sign. Long conversations, evenings together, and sharing about life will gradually fade away, replaced by moments of silence and short, in-depth conversations. If you notice this change, don't waste time hoping that it will pass. That's when you need to confront and talk to your partner directly. Another sign is disrespect. When your partner starts to act or say disrespectful things, this is not something that can be ignored. Not listening, or even being dismissive, is not only an invasion of self-esteem, but also a sign of an unbalanced relationship. Sometimes, in order to save face or avoid conflict, many people choose to stay silent, but this only makes the situation worse. There is nothing more important than maintaining respect in a relationship. If your partner no longer respects you, then the relationship is not sustainable. To deal with these signs, it is important for men to learn to be firm and not be afraid of losing the relationship. Setting clear boundaries and facing the truth will help you maintain your self-respect and protect yourself from unhealthy relationships. If you notice a change in your partner's behavior, be bold enough to discuss and resolve the issue instead of ignoring it. Maintaining a relationship requires commitment and effort from both sides, and if only one person is trying, the relationship will not last long. By recognizing the early warning signs, you will have a chance to save the relationship before it completely falls apart. However, if these signs continue, you will be faced with a difficult decision. Continue to fight in an unhealthy relationship, or choose to withdraw and protect yourself. Whichever choice you make, it is important that you do not feel guilty for protecting your own respect and values. In conclusion, recognizing and dealing with signs of disrespect and changing your communication are essential to maintaining a healthy relationship. Do not let these signs become habits or small things that you ignore. If not addressed promptly, they will gradually make you lose self-respect and can cause the relationship to inevitably end. 3. The pain of false loyalty. Sometimes in love, men can fall into a state of being too loyal in the wrong way, becoming a temporary support in the other person's life without receiving true love in return. The feeling of loving someone who is not wholeheartedly will lead to deep pain and hurt. Realizing that you are just a temporary support and not a person who is deeply loved. Loyalty in a relationship does not always lead to a lasting bond. In fact, when a person becomes an emotional supporter for their partner without receiving the proper love in return, they can start to feel tired, lose faith, and even disappointed. Men, in some cases, can trade many things, sacrifice themselves to care for and do everything for the person they love. But if this is not reciprocated, they will feel used and hurt. The pain comes not only from loving someone who is not wholeheartedly, but also from one party in the relationship not being willing to accept love from the other. Sometimes, the other party may love indecisively, unclearly, or not really ready for a long-term commitment. This does not mean that they do not love you, but simply that their feelings and decisions are not strong enough to develop into a stable and complete relationship. The feeling of being a temporary support will make men feel like they are just a replacement, unloved and cannot be the center of the other party. This feeling creates a void in the heart, a void that cannot be filled, making them begin to doubt their own feelings and feel unworthy of true love. That is when men need to stop and reevaluate the relationship. They need to realize that love is not just about sacrificing everything for others, but also about receiving love, respect, and sharing in return. Don't turn yourself into a one-sided lover who doesn't receive anything from the other person. Love must be an exchange, an effort from both people, not just one side giving everything without receiving anything in return. To avoid falling into the trap of false loyalty, men need to ask themselves, am I giving too much without receiving the love I deserve? They need to evaluate whether the love they are giving to the other person is reciprocated properly. If not, they need to be strong enough to realize and decide that they deserve real love, not just unconditional sacrifice. The key here is to understand your own worth and not accept love just because of need or feeling deprived. Men must learn to love themselves before loving others and never put themselves in a situation where they have to give too much without getting anything in return. If a relationship does not meet your emotional and respect needs, it is time to stop and look for true love, where both parties can give and receive. 4. Don't compare, and don't try to compete. One of the biggest mistakes men make in a relationship is comparing themselves to their partner's past relationships or trying to fight their partner's past. This is a subtle trap where men feel that their love will not be accepted if they cannot replace the memories and feelings their partner had with someone else. However, the truth is that trying to compare yourself to your partner's past will only lead to failure and heartache. When men feel that they are not good enough or cannot replace their ex in their partner's heart, they will unconsciously start trying to do everything to prove that they are worthy. This can lead to unnecessary pressure, causing them to lose their identity and sense of freedom in the relationship. Love is not a competition, and you cannot compete with your partner's past. Memories and old relationships cannot be changed, but current love and new memories can be built and cherished in their own way. Men need to accept that, no matter how much effort and love they put into their relationship, they cannot and should not try to replace their ex. True love is not about competition, but about acceptance and respect. If you are trying to be someone else in your partner's life, you will not be able to be yourself, and you will not be able to bring complete happiness to both of you. Instead of comparing, find out the special points that separate you and your current lover in particular. It is important to make sure that your partner has truly closed the past before starting a new relationship. If your partner still has feelings for an old relationship, it can make you a blank for unresolved emotions. True love requires clarity and commitment from both sides, not filling the void left by the other person. If you feel like your relationship is not being given your full attention by your partner, it is time to face the truth. Love cannot be just a gap, but a deep connection between two people. The feeling that you may not be good enough or cannot provide what the other person needs is a very common feeling, but it is not the truth. A person's feelings for an ex cannot determine your value in a current relationship. Love must be built on mutual appreciation and commitment, not comparison or trying to replace the past. To overcome these comparisons, men need to ask themselves, am I living in my partner's past and trying to replace things that cannot be changed? If the answer is yes, it is a sign for you to stop, realize, and accept that the current relationship needs to be built on the foundation of present love, not a reenactment of the past. The key to developing a relationship is to understand that you and your partner need to face the present and the future, not the past relationships. Your love deserves to grow and be nurtured from two hearts, not from comparison or compensation for irreparable shortcomings. Love the person you love, and let this relationship grow freely without being dominated by the ghosts of the past. 5. Regain self-respect in every relationship. Respect is the foundation for maintaining love and happiness. However, sometimes men can easily lose self-respect when they constantly sacrifice too much without receiving anything in return. They may feel that loving unconditionally, without setting any limits, is the only way to keep the relationship. However, true love is not an exchange where one party must constantly sacrifice and give without receiving anything in return. Self-respect needs to be put first. Otherwise, you will fall into a state of losing yourself in the relationship. To maintain self, men need to realize that love is not unconditional sacrifice. Loving someone does not mean giving up personal values. Does not mean you have to do everything to please the other person while forgetting your own needs and desires. If you are always the one giving without receiving, if you keep sacrificing yourself to make others happy, you will gradually feel exhausted, lose motivation to live, and lose self-respect. A healthy relationship is when both people put in effort and commitment, but neither feels like they have to sacrifice too much to maintain the balance in love. Men need to learn to love and respect themselves first. And when they do this, they will find peace in their relationships. Once you realize your own worth and do not accept disrespect, you will never allow yourself to be taken advantage of or hurt in love. One way to maintain self-respect is to set clear boundaries in the relationship. You need to know when to say no and when to ask the other person to respect you. Respect comes not only from sweet words but also from actions and fair treatment in the relationship. Never let yourself be the only one trying to maintain a relationship, while the other person is not putting in the same amount of effort. This will only leave you feeling exhausted, hurt, and unappreciated. When men learn to respect themselves, they will no longer feel the need to prove their worth through meaningless sacrifices or actions. They understand that true love comes from a connection between two people, a natural connection where each person can be themselves and feel loved and respected. And when you find that respect again, you will realize that a relationship is not a place where you have to give up yourself. but a place where you can grow and go through all the challenges together. Ultimately, self-respect is the key to helping men find peace in a relationship. When you love yourself and are not afraid of losing, you will always attract healthy relationships where love comes from equal sharing and mutual respect. Never let yourself lose your identity in a relationship. Stay true to your values and beliefs, because that is how true love is maintained. Conclusion: when a relationship ends, men often have to face many mixed emotions, from pain, confusion, to questioning their self. However, through each challenge, they will realize that, in order to move on and build a healthier relationship in the future, the most important thing is to regain respect and self-worth. In the journey from heartbreak to recovery, recognizing the warning signs, not comparing yourself to the past, and not sacrificing too much without getting what you deserve are the keys to helping men regain control of their lives and their loves. Respecting themselves and knowing their limits will help men never lose themselves in any relationship. Ultimately, when we learn to love and appreciate ourselves, when we do not seek acceptance or love through meaningless sacrifices, we will attract relationships that are truly worth it. These are relationships built on a foundation of respect, equality, and genuine love. Don't let your past or hurts dictate your future. Choose to love yourself first, and when you do, you will realize that true love always comes from sincerity and self-respect. Let self-respect guide you, and the future will open up to healthier, more fulfilling relationships. Remember, this journey starts with you.